Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel if you're a subscriber. Thank you as always. Today I want to talk about Taskwarrior. I'm getting quite a few requests to make a video about it, so here it is. A word of disclaimer, this video is intermediate. I am not explaining Taskwarrior basics, so if you don't know about Taskwarrior at all, there's plenty of resources you can search for and watch videos and read. And I am going to show you automation with Taskwarrior. This workflow is specific to me, but I feel that everybody would benefit from it. So let's do a real quick recap of what's going to happen. So Taskwarrior is a CLI-based task management tool. We have plenty of those, and I am choosing Taskwarrior for very specific reasons, mostly because it integrates extremely well with all the other tools. It's open source. I can do whatever I want with it. And I can, as I said, integrate it with almost anything, which I did for my workflow. So it fits my needs, but I feel that some of the things I'll show you are pretty generic. So it integrates with Neovim. We're going to see this in action. I'm using Taskwarrior TUI to display my tasks and work with them. There are a few alternatives, but I find this program to be most intuitive. And Taskwarrior, other than managing tasks, obviously exposes a few advanced features to automate it and extend it. You can use hooks, which react to events with various tasks, and you can use scripts to automate almost anything. I'm also integrating, as most of my tools, with Tmax. If you haven't seen the videos about Tmax or kind of Neovim basics, check out my channel. There's quite a few videos about it if you're curious. So let's first start by super basic workflow. This is not how I work with Taskwarrior, but I just want to show you how it does things. So we can do task, add, and here we have from history, implement new feature, and I'm also applying a label called work. So that's it. It created a task. It output the screen, task number 9. Everything is all right. So task list. It shows me all the tasks. I have some tasks pre-created for the demo, but here on top we have task ID number 9. If I want to mark it as done, task 9 and then done essentially removes it from the list. That's the super basic workflow. That's how Taskwarrior typically does things. But this is just a beginning. That's like an entry level. And you can do way more with that and automate it much nicer. So first thing I want to show you, and those use cases I kind of handpicked just to show you what you can do with them. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to expand on anything that I'm showing today. I have also more automation that I just don't have time to show because the video will be like half a day. So I really want to compact some things that I found quite interesting and useful. So the first one I want to show you is Neovim integration and a little bit of a background for this specific use case. Imagine that you work maybe as a programmer or software developer or somebody that works with a lot of files spread across various folders. So if you develop software, you definitely use some form of to-do comments. So you just make a to-do comment, fix it, and you never fix it, or do whatever, right? And these to-do comments are kind of specific to a repository. But with Taskwarrior and the setup I'm going to show you, I found a way how I can see all those comments and quickly jump to a file with those comments from within a task. So let's swap to the demo and see how it looks in action. So here you can see I have a README file. This is actually how the process works. This is a README from my .files describing this workflow where we actually can add the to-do to a task or as a task. So here I have this to-do. You can see this normal to-do comment. The reason why it's highlighted, I have a script, I have a plugin rather, that highlights it in Neovim. So now what we can do, we can actually go into insert mode, and then I have here shortcut Control T. And you can see at the bottom of the screen right here, it tells me enter project name. So we maybe say scripting, and then it tells me, do I want to add additional tags that Taskwarrior uses? So maybe I don't know, something like learning, right? It would be a task. And you can see it tells me it created a task for me that is associated with this line in code. So if we go back here to our Taskwarrior TUI, you can see at the very bottom, I'm highlighting it now in white. This is our scripting project, learning tag, and this also added some other automated tags, and then our text. And now in the description of the task, or rather in the like a inside of the task, you can see here there is this annotation that uses this Neovim line, and then here it is an actual line number and the file. So if I, let's say, close this file, just close it and actually completely destroy the pane here. If I hit shortcut 1, those shortcuts define various automations that you can do. So essentially, I have a script assigned to this shortcut that if I hit it, it should open this file. So let's see if it works. So indeed, you can see I have a completely new Neovim session. It's called readme, because the name of the file is readme. And then we are exactly where we were in this to-do line. When I'm done with it, I can simply just quit, and it takes me back to the task. So I can quickly jump to a to-do, do whatever I need with this to-do, and edit it and close the file. So let's imagine that I'm done with it, and I can of course delete the task from here, but I can also delete the task from the file. So again, let's jump back to the file, and then I can do, here you can say leader DT, this deletes the task, and it tells me, you can see this little pop-up window, this is Zenity. This is for Linux specific, but essentially a little bit of a graphical automation that I am able to use to display various pop-ups on the screen and so on. I acknowledge it, hit enter here, and then I can reload the file because Neovim sees that this is done. The to-do is deleted, and I don't want to actually delete it, so I'm going to undo it. And now we can close the file, and we're gonna go back to the session, and you can see that the task that was right here at the bottom is done. It's closed automatically through the automation. I'm not going to show you the automation itself. All those things are available in my .files repository, but this includes Neovim plugin, or rather module, a little bit of scripting, and some of the plugins from the Taskwarrior itself. So I found this automation really useful. I use it all the time, and it gives me this overview of all the to-dos. All right, great. So we have now seen how this flow can be automated and integrated with Neovim. Let's see another integration. So the way to extend Taskwarrior is through hooks. So hooks are essentially lifecycle events, and those lifecycle events can, when they trigger, we can actually execute various scripts. Those can be Bash scripts, those can be Python scripts, and they can modify the state of your tasks. So let's see a few of those, how they could work. So we are going to go back to the demo here. And here you can see one of those hooks. It's called onModify Tmaxinator. Tmaxinator or Tmaxinator is a Tmax session manager that essentially gives you an ability to create your own bespoke Tmax sessions and then load them. And you can see, so this is really simple. I am essentially reading the task JSON from std_in, and then I'm loading it as JSON. And this part is using a time warrior. I can actually track how much time I'm spending on every task. And then what it does at the end, it uses a special field called user defined attribute. And this is a field that you can define in Taskwarrior. I named it session. And if there is a session detected, it would actually start a Tmaxinator session with the session name. All right, that might be confusing, but let's see how it works in action. So here you can see I have various sessions. Those sessions are just like test generated, so none of those sessions actually exist. But I have a session called Taskwarrior Automation, which we've seen here. So Taskwarrior Automation, this is the session where the slides are displayed. So let's actually change this. So we're gonna modify and say session equals Taskwarrior Automation. So now when I start this task, so this is for me key binding S, it should automatically switch me to the Tmux session with this name. This might not work because just a session rather than Tmuxinator session. Actually, let me change it to actual Tmuxinator session. I think this is the actual session. So the reason why I'm doing it, if you're confused, is that the sessions that I have in Tmux, some of them are created just from folders, and some of them are actually Tmuxinator sessions. So I'm not sure why it didn't work, but let me do this again. Oh, it didn't. It's called session, not sessions. Something weird is happening here. First, do this. Modify this again. Okay, now we're working. So now when I hit start, you can see it switched us to the session called poke, which is my default session where I'm poking around in Tmux. All right, so let me go back to the slides. So those are hooks, and you can have a lot of hooks. I have probably like 4 or 5 various hooks that automate tasks. They react on task name and open browsers or, you know, execute certain actions. The world is your oyster here. You can have any hooks you want, and I found this automation to be extremely powerful. Taskwarrior works with contexts and custom reports. So the task that you've seen right here, this projects rather, all the list of those projects and tasks are actually coming from a special custom report. However, I can have other custom reports that would essentially contain different columns, different sorting, different layout. So those are things you can do with Taskwarrior. There are also various contexts. Think of context as like where your tasks are related to. So in my case, it's work, home, and then I have temporary tasks. So those are just like completely different, unrelated to each other contexts where you can create tasks, and Taskwarrior separates them in separate files. All right, now I want to show you my favorite automation, which is really cool. It's a bit involving, but I probably do a separate video if you guys are interested how to actually do it. But what it is, I'm combining AutoKey, which is similar like AutoHotkey in Mac, if you know it. But it's just a program that reacts to various key presses, and it can execute either scripts or autofill text, depending on what key you press. This can also detect in which window you are, and then it can behave differently depending which window is open. So I find it extremely powerful, and I automated quite a few things in my setup using the AutoKey. Definitely worthwhile checking if you're on Linux. That thing is absolutely awesome. So one component is AutoKey. Another component is Zenity. You've seen it briefly a moment ago. Zenity is essentially a GUI library that can help you show various forms on the screen. This can be pop-ups with information, it can be forms that take your input, and so on. So I'm using this, and the third component is Taskwarrior. And all those components integrate with Firefox, and I can actually take Firefox and create a task out of the URL that I'm currently on, which is super useful, and I do this all the time. So let's first quickly go through how it works. So the whole integration idea is that I don't need to create a Firefox plugin. I can just have an AutoKey, window detection, and key binding. My Firefox window would show me a URL. I have a method of copying a URL content. The AutoKey manages my clipboard, gets the URL, and then I can select various variables and properties of my task and create a task. So here you can see a user triggers a script. For me, this is a special shortcut. Then the script runs from AutoKey. It copies the URL to clipboard, shows the Zenity dialog. I am filling all the properties, selecting project category. And once I hit OK, it creates a task in Taskwarrior. So let's see this in action. So here I'm going to switch to Firefox, and this is my repository with my YouTube videos. And let's imagine I found this repository and I want to just quickly make a task out of it. So like research or read up. So I'm hitting my shortcut, and you can see on the screen the Zenity dialog. So it gives me a task description. Research, this is cool. Now category, here I can do either work or home. Remember, we talked about context briefly, so I'm just choosing work. And the project, we have a few projects of those. So maybe here I can just check documentation, an existing project. When I hit OK, and we swap back to our tasks, you can see at the very bottom is a new task, research, this is cool. And also in the annotation down below, you can see the actual URL. So similar automation like previously, when I hit 1, it actually opens Firefox and it opens the web page where I did this task from. So very, very useful if you are on, online researching something. You don't need to use any plugins, any third-party tools. You can just have this automation and then create a task. You can add a reminder. All is within your grasp here if you want to spend some time automating those things. All right, so that was the integration flow with the Firefox. I'm not going to show you the whole script again. It's quite involving, but it essentially is a way to integrate wrap the task command and integrate it in a way that you take the input from Zenity and then execute it. As I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video, there's a lot of automation that I could show you and a lot more that we could dig into. I think it will become its own series. If you guys are interested in learning more, this was just more like showing what is possible, what automations are in place and what you can do with it. Again, it's not meant to be an introduction, so if you feel a little lost, I apologize, but you can definitely go ahead and read up on Taskwarrior itself and check out the project. It's really awesome. And I will be happy to make more videos about various automations. So let's summarize what we did. We integrated tasks with our workflow. This is the critical part. So my workflow is very CLI centric, is Neovim heavy, and I was able to integrate both Neovim and command line and Tmax with tasks. So I can switch back and forth, I can create tasks, I can do all kinds of things really quickly. We can very quickly swap context, move from task to the other task, and move to where task is implemented. And most importantly, we can extend the functionality of Taskwarrior by using hooks and other methods to do essentially anything. You can do anything you want with it. You can integrate AI, you can integrate, think of it like Zapier a little bit, but you have the whole power of doing whatever you want with it. And then for me, I have a very code-centric workflow. So the task management is around the kind of coding tasks or software-related tasks, but it would work for anything. The only prerequisite is that you're willing to learn a little bit and spend some time learning it and investing time in creating the automation. The learning curve is not that steep. There's a few things like how tasks are pulled in JSON format and so on, but otherwise it's relatively straightforward. We also have seen the TUI, which I'm using. You can use task CLI command, but I find using TUI much more useful and more intuitive. All right, that's all for today. Thank you as always for watching. I'm really excited about how Taskwarrior helps me automate and that it's all under my control. It's all markdown, it's all text, it's all open source. So something that is really, really cool, especially nowadays where we have so much proliferation of SaaS and kind of proprietary software. Anyway, Thank you for watching. Please let me know in the comments if you want me to go deeper on any of the topics. And as always, see you in the next video.